Yeah, obviously a disappointing loss at home. I thought our fans did a great job and showed up and were loud for 4 quarters, and we let a game slip away that we got to be able to finish those type one score games, and we didn't get it done. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
All right, for our media to ask your questions, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you to ask your question. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Hey, Coach. As you alluded to with the result of Saturday's game, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on, especially in the second half, it seemed like you guys were having to settle for some field goals instead of getting some touchdowns. What were some of the things you felt like broke down maybe in the execution that resulted in those field goals instead of some of those first downs where you could have extended some drives and maybe accumulated a few more points down the stretch?
Yeah, we had to kick 2 field goals in the red area, which those ended up being 4 point plays, and felt good about how we moved the football. The first half was, we scored 4 out of our 5 drives. The first 3 drives of the game go down 75 yards, score touchdowns, and then just didn't execute well enough on the obviously a drop ball. Walks into the end zone, probably puts us up 2 possessions right there in the fourth quarter with a chance to stretch that lead, and we didn't execute well. And then next play gave up a sack. So then it was like, hey, even at that point, like you're asking yourself, it was 4th and 5 on the 5. And do you want to kick a field goal versus go for it? We're a very aggressive team already in our fourth down attempts anyway. But at that point, we're beat up on the offensive line, and we just took a sack. We dropped a ball at that, and I wanted to make it where they were going to have to go down and score a touchdown and beat us, and not tie it with a field goal. So that's why we kick the field goal right there instead of being aggressive. And we're gonna have to execute. We're gonna throw and catch better, and find ways to make plays down there in those tight low red situations that are really essentially 4 point plays.
And then, Coach, you kind of alluded to it a little bit, but sort of what were, you know, JJ ended up taking 4 sacks in the game. Do you thought those were decisions on him or breakdowns in the blocking per se, or a combination of both?
Yeah, I think they all happened in the second half once we lost 2 starting offensive linemen. Now you're down 3 starting offensive linemen from when the season started, because I thought we completely controlled the line of scrimmage in the first half. And when you all of a sudden now you've got 3 starters out on your offensive line, you lose 2 in a game, you're playing a true freshman, and we expect for the next man to step in and play well. But it's also easier said than done. It's a challenge when you're down to your third or fourth tackle. Now all of a sudden you're into your third or fourth guard, and those are really when those things started. The sack started because in the first half when we had our guys up, I felt like we were in complete control line of scrimmage.
Coach, and then my last question for you is sort of turning the page. You guys are going to head to Old Dominion now for your
Yeah.
next game, another league game, another opportunity. A very potent offense they have, but maybe some opportunities defensively to attack them. What are some things you guys really need to do well this week to prepare and then execute on Saturday against that team?
Yeah, it's gonna start with stopping the run. We just gave up 258 yards of rushing. Um, versus Coastal. So we're at number one, and their whole team, their whole thing, and Ricky does a great job, obviously, but it goes through the run game. They run the football extremely efficient. They run the football extremely efficient. They've got a quarterback that's a lot faster than you think, and they've got 3 good receivers their skill guys are a strength of theirs, but they do. I think they're the most talented group of receivers we played, but it all starts and ends with the run game, and we got to do a better job stopping that first and foremost.
Let's go over to Avery.
Hey, good morning, Coach.
Hey, Avery.
Uh, I got on a little late, but I caught the tail end of your comment about the offensive line play, and I think that was spot on. I think it was really, really clear when you had the second lineman go down, and I knew you were already down Poindexter already.
Yes, sir.
It was real clear protection was an issue, and even just communication was probably a
Yep.
little difficult. So I thought that was spot on. We're not making excuses, but I thought that was spot on. But
Yes, sir.
Coach, let me ask you this defensively. Georgia State, we gave up about 20 points in the second half. They also converted at 47% on third down. This week we struggled a little bit in the second half. Is that talent? Is that scheme? Is it discipline? What's driving that, Coach? Because let me just say this. I watched you fix the turnovers. Watched you
Yes,
kind of
sir.
fix the penalties. what strategically can Appalachian do to correct those problems in the second half of the last two ball games?
Man, number one, I need you in the next staff meeting because you're asking the real questions. I mean, these are the real questions that you got to get fixed. And I am proud of the group because we have stopped the turnovers, and on offensively, we've started to eliminate the penalties. Defensively, we had 4 penalties in the game that all led to points. If you go and you look at our drives this year, our touchdown drives given up, a lot of them have been extended by penalty on defense. And we had an offsides at a 3rd and 7. We have an offsides that creates a 3rd and 2. Now you play man coverage and then you give up a long touchdown pass. And credit to them because they had to throw and catch, and we got to do a better job covering. But it should have been 3rd and 7. And now the chances of getting off the field are a lot higher. And when you look at those things, is we got to stop beating ourselves. We got to win 1st and 2nd down. We had too many 3rd downs where our 3rd and 10s were our pass rush, we get past the quarterback, or we're not doing a good enough job affecting the passer, and the quarterback scrambles for yards on us that way. And it's app hurting app. And we got to make sure that we eliminate all those things that hurt us. We got to win 1st and 2nd down. We got to eliminate we got to win our 1st, 2nd down. We got to eliminate the penalties. And we have to eliminate the tic tac, these clap cadences, and we're jumping off sides and giving free plays and opportunities and putting ourselves in situations that when we do create a 3rd and long, let's keep them in 3rd and long because it's really hard to convert those down to distances. And I didn't think in the last game that our defensive line showed up like we need them to. And it's a good group. It's a talented group when they're doing what they're coached to do. But we didn't get it done in that last game. And those guys have to be a group that play well for us. It's going to come down to this next game against ODU. They love to spread you out, and they're going to try to create light boxes, and you have to win up front with a 5-man box, a 6-man box when it's even. And so those things are the same thing. You have to win on 1st, 2nd down and make these things into 3rd and longs. Like when the offense is in third and 5 or less, 3rd and 6 or less, those are 50-50 downs. And all of a sudden you get 3rd and 7 plus, and you make them play behind the sticks. It becomes a lot more difficult to convert those things. And we got to tackle better, honestly, Avery. Avery, we missed 32 tackles, and then the week before it was 27. So the emphasis now is we've got a turnover circuit going on offense and these things, and we're holding more. We have different meetings that we're gonna hold people accountable for the way we carry the football, the small details. Well, now we're gonna have to increase the way how much time we spend on tackling, and that fundamental, because 32 missed tackles, and that's what creates leaky runs and those things, and creates 3rd and short and 3rd and manageable versus 3rd and long. And when we're playing our best football, we're tackling the ball, we're pursuing, we're taking good angles. They threw a hitch against us, and they score because we missed 3 tackles.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it's like, guys, come on, get them down, make them keep putting the ball down, because we saw against Oregon State, if you just tackle and you make them put the ball down, it happened against Charlotte in the red zone. Be a defense that is hard to kill, hard to beat, and that comes with us. That comes with app not beating app.
Right. Yeah. Well, and again, that's why I preface with a lot of the things that were thrown in probably your side with turnovers and penalties were fixed, but then it's kind of like that tackling piece popped up, that lack of, I guess, gap responsibility on the D line and things like that. They popped up, but you only have so much time in the day. That's why I brought that up. But thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Avery. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, very pleased, proud of our guys, the way they played. They never wavered. They played all the way, all 4 quarters, and found a way to win at the end. So very excited about that.
All right, we'll open up now for questions for our media. Please use the raise hand function, and we'll call on you to ask your questions. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Hey, Coach Beck, I wanted to ask you about your team's defensive effort, especially in the second half. Keeping App State to some field goals when they were having a lot of success moving the ball in the first half, and then your offense at the same time responding to your defense and getting the offensive execution that you guys were looking for. So, but with that, the defense specifically, forcing the fumbles, the timely tackles behind the line by Ibrahim, Sawyer, Ezekiel had one, I think, too. Just the collective unit of your defense to really have the willpower to buckle down and get your team back in the game.
Yeah, Adam, that's pretty much a little bit what I was alluding to, right? We didn't start the game very well. I felt like our guys defensively were playing to not lose the game. You know, the first 3 drives, they went down and scored touchdowns. The rest of the game, defense held them to 9 points. So I thought that was our guys responded very well. I thought our coaching staff did a good job of calming them down, getting them to just play fundamental football, get to the football, read your keys, and tackle. You know, and we responded. We're better, and guys made some plays. You know, I think as the game went on, our confidence grew defensively. And when we really needed them in the fourth quarter, we did. We made some plays. The tackles behind the line of scrimmage, the fumble, the sack, we had the one interception, even though we did penalize there. But even there, just it was a different feel and a different take from us defensively once our guys settled in.
Avery, I think I saw a question from you there.
Yes. Hey, Coach, congratulations again on the win. 277 yards at ULM, 246 yards this week. You found, I guess, that secret sauce to run the football. What did you see in that really second quarter, third quarter from an adjustment perspective with Appalachian's first level and second level of defense? What did you see that said, look, we can continue to run the ball, because you made some great adjustments and continue to run the ball well in those during that period? What did you see that allowed you to kind of keep pounding the rock there?
You know, they're a good defensive football team. You know, I felt the strength of their team was their front. And watching them, you noticed a lot of those plays were they made sacks, they made harassing the quarterback, they made chasing the ball down. We made a pretty conservative effort to run at them, play with tempo, to run at them, and then also kind of get the ball on the edge some when you can with the RPO game. And so it's just kind of who we are. And Samari does a good job. He makes really good decisions back there when to take off, when not to take off. He's been a big difference, obviously, in the last couple of ball games with his ability to extend plays back there. So in an air raid offense, when you're back there throwing it and your quarterback can take off and run, he's going to give you some good yards because they're probably covering everyone. So that's been a tremendous bonus for us, for sure.
Thanks, Coach.
Let's go over to Alan Blondin.
Hey, Coach. Yeah, first time this season you guys have been able to stack 2 wins together. You're now going to a bye week. I guess just how much better is it going into bye weeks off wins, and how important was it for you guys to finally maybe, gain some, I guess, momentum, with a couple wins in a row?
Yeah, certainly, Alan. I think anytime you could win a game going into the bye week, it's a lot better, right? That's kind of our livelihood, isn't it? Anytime you win, the next day is always a little better than not. But this time you get to enjoy at least a couple more days. But yeah, I think I like the direction our team's going. I talked to him 4 weeks ago, and I said, the journey's not where we're at. The journey's where we're going to be. It's not about where we're at this moment. It's where we're going to be. It's the direction that we're heading. And I liked the direction we were heading. I thought we were getting better. I thought we, as coaches and myself and even our players, started to just focus on the small details and to get better at those small details. We worried much more about ourselves than our opponent. And I feel like that made a huge difference in how we're coaching. I think it's a great difference in how our players are playing and how they're responding when adversity hits them. They know that it's not necessarily each individual outcome, it's each individual play, and you move on to the next one. And you saw that. I mean, there was a lot of things that went bad in that game, and we never flinched, and we kept going and until it was over, and no matter whenever that time is. And so I was really pleased and proud of our guys for that.
Got another question. So you found kind of a power running game, it seems, with Samari at quarterback. Do you think that's the new identity of your team? Would you like to be a little more diversified still on offense? And if and when Tad Hudson is healthy, is Samari still your starting quarterback at this point?
So we're still diversified. I mean, we're still air raid. We threw 2 touchdown passes, I think. Yeah, 2 that I can recall. So that's the intent, is to still, we're spreading people out. We're throwing the RPO game down the field, playing with tempo. That's kind of what we do. He just brings a little added element to it, as I had mentioned earlier, that Tad or MJ didn't have with him. And so I don't know, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Right now we're enjoying where we're at. We're taking a small deep breath today, lifting weights and watching the film, and get back to some more fundamental and technique work this week and get us healthy. And we got a really tough one next Thursday here against Marshall.
Thanks, Coach Beck. Appreciate the time today.
Thank you.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, guys. Just, proud of our kids. Played really hard, battled through a lot of adversity, hung in there. We get down 10-0 early. We were able to respond, 10-8. We have the opportunity right there, to down there on the 8-yard line with an opportunity really to take the lead, and we don't. Then we drive back down again, and it's still, 10-8, and we're on the 14-yard line. And after the missed field goal, really we didn't feel comfortable doing it, so we went for it on 4th and 9 and had a great drive going, and then they go down and score, and it's 17-8. With a couple missed opportunities in the first half that could have, easily made it, 17-14 or more, but we didn't. And then we come out and we have a great drive in the second half. We have a 14-play touchdown drive to make it, 17-14. We miss the extra point. And then, it's still 17-14. It's back and forth, and our kids are really playing lights out and back and forth. And Troy's got a really good football team, and they're very well coached. And I think, with 17-14 with a minute to go and, a minute, 2 seconds left in the third quarter, and that's where, the strip from behind, the fumble, and they get it on the 10-yard line. But defense, they hold up right there and they give up a field goal. It's still 20-14, and we get an opportunity, and then obviously the interception, really changed things, and they got an opportunity. Then they score a touchdown. So, there was a route 3 quarters, man. We're playing lights out, back and forth, and still miss a couple opportunities to really be in the lead. And the turnovers there late really swung the game and put us in a bad position.
All right, we'll open up now for questions for our media. Please use the raise hand function, and we'll call on you to ask those questions. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Hey, Coach. Yeah, you kind of, got into everything that happened there in the third quarter that you felt really changed the game. Overall, your rushing attack has been pretty strong most of the year, and you guys kind of, besides the turnovers, found a little difficulty moving the ball against Troy, especially even in the second half. And I understand when you get behind, things change, but where did you find the most difficulty with your running game, specifically finding some success?
I think, really, we lost Bam first play of the game. And he was our leading rusher and really been our spark this year. Then we lost Hunter Herring. Really, in this game plan was a big part of it. I think you saw Zach Palmer and Dorian Lewis really step up and have some really tough physical runs and some really good runs. But as the game went, I thought we had a really good balance. We knew they were really good on defense. We felt like we kept them off balance most of the games. We had some really good drives, and with our kicking situation right now, we feel like we've got to be kind of, I guess you could say, you have very small margin of error, and we're going to score touchdowns. And that's just the situation we're in. 29 years, I've never had our top 2 kickers have, season-ending injuries. But that's what it is. And so we've got to do what we've got to do, and we've got to find ways to get the ball in the end zone. And if that's being a little bit more aggressive, that's what we will. But we didn't abandon it. We just kind of felt like we had some things working. And then the third quarter was really tough on us. When you lose, obviously Hunter Braylon's out, then you lose Hunter, then you lose Jay Godfrey, to a targeting. Then that put him out, and then we had to start shuffling a little bit, just like a lot of other teams in this conference. But in the flow of the game, that's something that we've just got to be able to continue to execute.
Coach, you take on Troy this week, who's undefeated in conference play, and then now you're looking ahead next week to Southern Miss. What do you feel like you guys will have to do really well in that matchup to be able to be competitive and come away with a victory?
The thing that I saw Saturday, you go back to Troy's game, I thought our team improved in so many areas, so many areas, whether it was third downs, we matched them 5 for 13. Two of them were 5 of 11. Until the game really gets out of hand and we put our twos in just to protect our other guys. Fourth downs were 3 for 4. They're 1 for 2. Yardage, passing yardage, rushing yardage. It's the turnovers. So, we've got to eliminate. We've got to protect the ball. There's nothing, we don't want to, but if the situation calls for it, we'll punt and play defense. But we've got to eliminate the turnovers. We're right there neck and neck, and they get the ball on the +10 going in. And our defense still held up and was able to give up a field goal, but then we turn it over again and then just put them in a bad situation. We got to play complementary football. We've got to eliminate the turnovers, and we've just got to play clean till the end. As clean as we can. There's always going to be mistakes. There's always going to be, setbacks or failures in certain, plays, but we can't have the plays that really flip the game.
Let's go over to Billy.
Hey, Coach, just kind of expanding on that. Talk a little bit about, how you prepare, in a similar question with the quarterback that you have to face this weekend and, probably one of the more dynamic quarterbacks in the league. How do you take what you learned this past weekend and carry that over into the Southern Miss game?
Braxton's a really good player. I think he's if not the best, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And I think everybody in this, all the coaches would agree on that. He led his team, Marshall, to a championship last year, so he's been in the biggest games. And obviously he's playing at a high level and he's a really good player. So to me, he's 6'2", he's 225 pounds. I mean, he can throw it really well. He can run it. Whenever he needs to. I think he's very efficient. I think he's smart. Obviously, Coach Anderson, Blake is a good friend of mine. He does a tremendous job, and he's executing their offense and making good decisions as it goes. We've got to contain him, but he's a dual threat. But he's one of those guys where you got to play both. You can't just stop the run and you can't stop the pass. You've got to be able to play sound defense and tackle guys. And 3 of the receivers from Marshall, they've got good players. And they're coached really well. Their backs are physical. Their O-line, their tight ends. So this is they're 5-2, 3-0 for a reason. And we've got to go to Hattiesburg Saturday afternoon, and it's we've got to get prepared.
Thanks, Coach Vincent. Appreciate the time today.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Yeah, really encouraged by the excitement and enthusiasm that our kids got opportunity to play in front of a great crowd, great atmosphere, 2 teams battling for a chance to win a cup. We fell short, not happy, very disappointed about that. But we do have to take the positives that came out of the game. Thought Cam Brown played an outstanding game, and he'll go on being our starter moving forward. We still got really, really detailed things out from a discipline standpoint. Too many penalties. Didn't play it good enough on defense on third downs and critical situations to get stops. So we got to make sure we respond a lot better in the next game coming up against South Alabama. In a short week, kids were very emotional and they were in good spirits yesterday and today.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. For our media, please use the raise hand function. We'll call on you. We'll start it off with Billy.
Hey, Coach. I just was curious, can you add anything else to, what you guys kind of saw out of Cam leading up to this weekend and then just evaluating his performance overall? I mean, being able to get it done in the air and with his legs, adding that piece to an already effective offense, has to be encouraging.
The good thing is when the O-line's pass protection breaks down or if someone misses a pressure, he has the mobility to get out of trouble and he can still keep his eyes down the field and make throws. And if a throw is not there, he can pull it down and run it. So he made several big runs and conversions during that game. But we still got clamps on the reads. We had some things open down the field. We had potential for some big plays and touchdowns that we can't miss on moving forward. But he energized our team and our offense, and we're just looking forward and encouraged by, how he's going to grow in that role.
And then to follow up on the defensive side of the ball, you really didn't have, there was a couple of explosives, but it felt like you really kind of kept the ball in front of you. Just talk about, how that's been a process throughout this year.
Yeah, we gotta play with great eye discipline. We gotta play from top down. That receiver still had a good night, in my opinion. Cam Brown, he's a tough cover, and he made a great play on the ball, and French delivered the ball. But the next opponent, they're a running football team. They have several speedy receivers that will have our attention. We're still kind of diving into what South Alabama does offensively and defensively, and we got to put a really quick game plan together and get our kids back healthy and go out and win a conference game on Thursday.
Let's go over to Adam.
Coach McGee, obviously, you were talking about Cam Brown before, but as a collective unit, your offense, what were some of the best things you felt like you saw from your team, like your offense specifically, that really gave you guys momentum early and put you guys ahead? Just overall the best things you felt you saw.
Yeah, I thought we were really efficient on third downs. I think we converted over 70% on third downs, which is very good. Our normal goal is 45%, and we really exceeded that, and a lot of that was attributed to Cam. Just the negative of the game and us right now is just finishing. We got outscored in the fourth quarter, 21-0. We had opportunities to stop them, and we didn't. We didn't contain the quarterback very well. French made a lot of extended plays and extended drives with his legs, and we got to do a better job of condensing the pocket. But offensively, I think this helps the running game because Cam can't run the ball as well, and some of our backs got some cleaner looks, and it afforded them opportunities to show their talents too.
Coach, as you look ahead to Thursday night against South Alabama, they've obviously been in two really close games these past 2 weeks, but how do you feel like you'll be able to slow them down? You talked about their running game. How do you feel like you'll be able to slow them down to be able to give you guys the best chance to win on Thursday night on national television?
Yeah, it's all about physicality. And like I said, we got to switch gears. You can't sulk in a loss. You got to move on quickly, which I feel like our guys have done that. We got to come up with a good plan and just go play football, have fun. On national TV, that's motivation in itself. But the biggest motivating factor is us trying to win this week. And our kids are really working hard. They're doing everything that we're asking them to do. We just got to dial in for 60 minutes and play complimentary football for 4 quarters. And, that's the expectation every single week.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
All right, thanks.
Yep. Disappointed in the loss. Give a lot of credit to Marshall, though. They coached and played really well. They got a good team. We got to play better. We got to coach better. Questions?
We'll open up now for questions. For our media, please use the raise hand function. We'll call on you to ask those questions, and we'll start it off with Caleb.
Coach, lots of talk about, coaching needs to be better over the past 3 weeks. What do you think is the biggest area of improvement that's needed among y'all?
Yeah, anytime we lose, I'm going to say the coaching needs to be better. So,
let's go over to Blake.
Hi. So I want to ask specifically about the defensive effort from the past couple of games. Have you stepped back and taken a look at what the defensive strategy is, and how do you plan on addressing the defensive issues in the past couple of games?
yeah, I thought we played well enough on defense this past week to win. So we got to do better. Coach staff put these guys in better positions on offense and special teams to go win the game.
Let's go over to Adam.
Hey, Coach, obviously, tough run in the league play so far. You guys have lost 2 overtime games, which are games that can go either way. And then you lose the 1-point game with Arkansas State. Just obviously it's, those 3 games, you guys could be 3-0 instead of 0-3. But what are some of the things that you feel like in those situations, and moving forward, the message to the team when it comes down to it could be a 1 or 2 plays, it could be half a play, just the little things that could make the difference in some of those results for you guys?
Yeah, good question. I think for us, really, obviously our offense is really good, and I have a ton of confidence in Brad and what we're doing on offense. This past game we did some good things, but I think it comes down to in all those games, maybe besides Arkansas State, the last 2 games, man, when we got opportunity in the fourth to go put the game away on offense, we got to do that. And then the other times, special teams, we got to make a play, and defense, you got to make a stop and all that. I understand that, and we are, we have been really close, and woulda, coulda, shoulda have been a lot of things. But I think the biggest thing for me as an offensive head coach is when we have those opportunities in the fourth to put the ball game out of reach, we got to go do that.
Let's go back over to Caleb.
Coach, I think there were at least 12 penalties the other night, and a lot of false starts, offside, stuff like that. Was that partially due to the environment, the visiting environment?
I maybe I haven't got to see the guys. We gave them off yesterday, so we'll get back in and really get with them tomorrow. But just from the film that we watched, was a little bit more false starts than we used to, and at the receiver position, they were giving us a bunch of different looks, and we were checking a bunch of things. So that could have been it, just a little bit antsy in some areas. But obviously, that's something that we got to clean up and be better at, and we will. Those are veteran guys that that's happening to, so we'll be better there.
Let's go to Billy.
Hey, Coach. You hit on Brad's performance, but I wanted to kind of talk specifically about both Chris and Bo kind of having standout performances. What have you seen about the wide receiver room and the growth that they've had this year, and how can you kind of use that growth against JMU in the next week?
Yeah, just super happy for Bo and Chris and really Brad too. I mean, felt bad, for Chris early on. He got hurt, week 1 versus Eastern Michigan, and barely, didn't practice all week versus UTSA, and barely played UTSA. Probably shouldn't have played Arizona State, and we had to pull him in the first quarter, and then missed Nichols because he was hurt, and now you're still kind of seeing him get back in the swing of things. I thought this past 2 weeks have been his healthiest weeks, and then obviously Bo is tremendous, and so when you got that 1-2 punch like you do with Bo and Chris, it's puts a lot of stress on the defense, and Brad's really good. Brad's playing at a really high level. Obviously, some things we got to clean up, but he's still a redshirt freshman, so those things are going to happen. But yeah, just super proud of both of those guys, and always that's maybe one of the most frustrating things is when you have your receivers. As 2 of your biggest leaders on the team with Bo and Chris, you usually have a real chance when your receiver room is your leaders. And so, man, we're doing so many good things, and just not winning the ball games. And that's why I always say earlier the question. I'm always going to say it's on the coaches, because we're doing some really good things, just not enough to win.
Coach, I know we're early for the JMU game, but probably our last chance to talk to you before that game. So kind of as you look at their performance this past weekend, Barnett really coming back into his own from his knee injury, showing kind of the dual threat capabilities that we all saw last year in the league. What do you guys need to do defensively to kind of slow him down and give yourselves the best chance in that matchup?
Yeah, I really, like I said, it is early. I've really just started on their defense. So I'll have a better, answer for you later in the week. One of those type deals, but obviously we know who he is, super talent, and he can run, he can throw, and kind of his, this past week when you're looking around the league, it really seemed like he had a huge game, and so we'll have to get a really good plan for him. For any time a guy that can run and throw puts a lot of stress on you. So this league probably, since I've been in it, this week going year 3, this is the best quarterback play that I've seen so far. So there's a bunch of really good quarterbacks, bunch of good offenses, and we got to find a way to stop them.
We got time for one more from Billy.
Yeah, coach, just to go back to the Marshall game, how, I guess, results aside, obviously, you want to win that game, but
Yeah.
you got to be happy with, the minute 14 drive. Tyler nails a huge field goal, after some other things that have happened, but, he finished the game absolutely perfect. How have you seen Tyler kind of bounce back and really own that? And I mean,
Yeah.
making 50 yarders is no easy accomplishment.
No, he's man, he's a stud, and glad he's on our team. It's like I said, it's his first year starting too, and people are going to make mistakes. He's human, and Coach Burns is doing a great job with him. So yeah, just obviously some things I wish I could go back and do over from a coaching standpoint, but I think he really has. He's been good, and we got to continue to use him, and his confidence. That's one thing about him. Even last week, his confidence doesn't waver. He's a confident kid, and he's a good kicker, man. So I'm excited to go down this stretch with him, and we're gonna need him down the stretch for sure.
Thanks, Coach Kinne. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Yeah, great rivalry game here in Statesboro, Georgia against Georgia State. Credit to Dell and his kids. I thought they played extremely hard, and that's what rivalry games are about. And I thought both teams played a really clean first half and competitive first half. And then when we got to the second half, I thought we played really good defensive football, only giving up 7 points in the second half, 0 points in the fourth quarter. The last 5 games, we've only given up 3 points defensively. We've really finished strong, and that's been our MO right now. And did that in this game. Had four drive opportunities in the second half, and we're able to convert touchdowns on each one of those. And we came up with the stops that we needed. We got a turnover and 2 out on downs that really created the separation in the game. So thank you to the Georgia Grown Bowl. It was a great event. It's great to hoist up a trophy. And now we move on to Arkansas State and headed to Jonesboro for another big conference game. So with that, I'll take any questions that you have.
We'll open it up now for questions from our media. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you. We'll start it off with Billy.
Hey, coach. Obviously a very explosive fourth quarter. Kind of that weird statistical where you're putting that drive together, but you can't quite punch it in, but you start the fourth quarter off with that touchdown. Do you think that was the momentum swing you guys needed? Like if you score that in the third, do you think it has necessarily the same effect as it does scoring it in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, Billy, I thought was maybe the drive before was really important. The drive right before halftime, we had just gone out on downs. Georgia State makes a long drive to make it 17-10. There's 49 seconds left on the clock, and we make a 2-minute drive, get a field goal by Tripp. It's 17-13, and then we get an out on downs in that first drive on the third quarter. We get the ball about the 43-yard line, and we're able to punch that in, and all of a sudden you take the lead. I thought that was the start of gaining the momentum back, and then getting the turnover there in the third quarter was really, really important to be able to acquire that. And then we finally caught a couple shots of man coverage where we were able to throw it to our big target, Cam Brown, and where he came up with 2 big, offensive touchdowns. So like I said earlier, credit to our defense. I thought they made some adjustments at halftime that created, one, a turnover and then 2 drive stops that gave us the extra opportunities that we needed offensively. We had 8 total drive opportunities in the game. Both teams were operating really efficiently on 3rd down, so you had to make the most of each one of them. And to go 4 for 4 in the second half with 4 touchdowns was what was needed in that game. And credit Coach Applin and offensively for the job they did down the stretch.
Let's go over to Adam.
Yeah, Coach. You mentioned the turnovers and getting those stops and how that propelled the offense in the fourth quarter and late third too. But the ability for what that did for JC, you felt like was there a switch that flipped with him when he saw that and and he really just it seemed like he turned up into another gear in that fourth quarter and got the offense to repay the defense for their efforts.
Yeah, I was proud of JC. I think he had a chip on his shoulder the entire week of practice. We lost a really tough game, 38-35 to Southern Miss, where he didn't have a great first half and then, had a strong second half, and he carried the momentum of that into this game. Probably the experience and the poise that he showed in the pocket was the most impressive thing to me. He runs for 80 yards on the day. We caught a lot of 2-man coverages where, defenders are covering their guys, their eyes are blind to the quarterback, and he recognized that. And that's always, part of our progression at quarterback is if you see man coverage, your ability to run the ball becomes available. And so he pulled it down, 8 to 10 times in that game and really created some yardage that we needed, especially on that 2-minute drive and especially in the second half, and it was what was needed to win the game. You go 0 turnovers. He doesn't turn the ball over. We play clean football with only 4 penalties. And that was what was needed to create the 17-point separation. Quarterback played a good football game.
And then, Coach, my follow-up is sort of to turn the page here to Arkansas State. This is a team that's going to be rested, but also a team that's come off 2 pretty emotional wins in their last 2 games. The Texas State game and then the seesaw battle there was there, and then the comeback to beat South Alabama. What is there a message to your team throughout this week about how that that team's not going away and you're gonna have to play 60 minutes to really finish the job?
Yeah, they've done a tremendous job, and you expect that from a Butch Jones team. I mean, there's a reason he's been doing it 16 years and got 106 wins. He knows how to build teams, and you see the character of his team really, in these last 2 wins, 31-30, against Texas State, then to find a way to win that game on the road at South Al, which is not an easy place to play. Got a lot of respect for this bunch. Both these 2 teams that are going to play Saturday are fighting and clawing and scratching, to get conference wins. And this is the next one up. It's a place that we've never won before as a university in Jonesboro. So it's a great challenge for our football team to walk in there on their homecoming and try to go 1-0 this week. And, it's just the next step for both teams that are trying to claw back to 4-4, trying to get another conference win. It's a big game for both universities.
Time for one more from Billy.
Hey, Coach. Speaking on that, looking forward to Arkansas State. You faced a Cam Brown that not a lot of people had tape on. And Coach Kinne kind of stated, the overall quarterback situation across the league has, jumped leaps and bounds where you have a lot of dual threat guys facing up against Jalen Rahne. Does what you saw against Cam Brown and Georgia State, does that kind of prepare you for the looks that you can see with, Arkansas State where Rahne can tuck it and run as well?
Yeah, it's a great observation, Billy. I mean, the first thing that you saw when you open up the stat sheet is the quarterback's the leading runner with 272 yards. And so you're like, oh, gosh, this is going to be a dual threat day again. I thought Cam at Georgia State played a really efficient game. That team's going to win some games down the stretch here because of his play. Jalen has done a great job of being able to create at Arkansas State, keeping the ball alive. He's got 9 touchdown passes, too. So he's a true dual threat guy. And being a quarterback coach by trade, I've been highly impressed with him, especially in some pressure situations and down the stretch in these last 2 games that were both close. He's shown the poise and the experience to go pull out wins, and that's what good quarterbacks do. And here we go, we're facing another athletic quarterback that can spin it. So it seems to be the MO of this league right now.
Thanks, Coach Helton. Appreciate the time today.
Thank you, Sam. Hail Southern.
Yeah, just dropped a tough one to a good Southern Miss team at home. Played really hard. Kids have continued to compete and battle. Just not always playing well in some critical situations, and it includes you get two big takeaways on defense to give you the ball. Really on the plus side of the field, you got to be able to put points on the board. We got 0 off of that. Truthfully, we were careless with the ball in our turnovers. 2 interceptions that are very avoidable. And then a turnover early in the fourth quarter on the 1-yard line, fumbling it going in. Those are all things that good teams don't do. On special teams, we commit another penalty that ends up flipping the field. And then as good as we played on defense, the one time we're able to flip the field and try to play some field position, we gave up a big play. So it's our guys are playing, incredibly hard, man, and they're competing in 95% of the game. You're doing things you're playing winning football. You just got to eliminate the 5 or 6 plays, and I think you're sitting here and you're feeling a whole lot different about it. But that's football, that's the way it goes. A handful of them always dictates the outcome. And we just got to keep plugging away. I'm proud of our guys up front on the offensive line and tight ends, be able to find a way to manufacture some offense, move the ball. We just got to score when we get in the score area. With all the injuries we've had, I think those guys have played extremely well considering where we're at. We just got to, you got to put points on the board when you get down there in the score zone. And, if we can take advantage of some of those opportunities, we still have a team that can go out there and go scary, go win some football games. So, that's what we got to do. We got to find a way to capitalize when we get a chance to create some momentum and find ways to win. And right now, we're just coming up short and finishing some of those momentum plays.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. We'll start it off with Hunter Dawkins.
Hey, Coach, in Saturday's game, you guys brought in Walker Howard right before the start of the second half or the end of the first half. Talk to me about that, just because I didn't know, I think most of the media were not necessarily sure when you were going to use him and things as such. Just talk to me about that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, it was a 2-minute situation, which I think is kind of what he thrives in a little bit, where you're going to throw the ball and kind of empty some things out and let him go play and just let him kind of do his thing a little bit. We started out the half really good, had a really good 16-play drive to start. After that, offensively moved the ball, but didn't create a bunch of explosives that in the second quarter, and really weren't able to get any points on the board after that. Felt like that was an opportunity for him. Obviously, 2 minutes not an easy one to be in, but I think that's something that he does a really good job in. He threw some really good balls. We had a big drop that was going to be an explosive. Certainly the turnover was something that, we can't do. We just got to, on 3rd and long, we had another guy he had a chance to get the ball to, trying to make a play, and that's kind of who he is, just kind of put the ball in jeopardy a little bit. But it was good to get him back out there. And I think, we've got to continue to work him through practice. He's got a skill set that's really pretty special. So we just got to keep working him in, but Lunch is playing really well. So it's not like one of those deals where you feel like, you need to go get him back out there and put him at risk, but certainly want to continue to prepare him. We've got at least 5 games left here. So, continue to prepare him for, if and when we need him, that he can go out there and go do it.
Let's go over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. Looking at the defensive side of the ball, minus a couple explosives, you held them to 2 of 13 on 3rd down. Just talk about what went into that and what you really saw about your defense really, limiting their chances.
You can't say enough. The last 2 weeks on defense, they've kept us in the game, and that's probably the way it's going to have to be the rest of the year, to be quite honest with you. We're going to have to play good defense just with where we're at on offense. And, they created takeaways, got us the ball in a short field. I thought we played extremely hard on defense. I thought we were very physical. We not only did we tackle well, but it was knockback tackles. We ran to the football. We limited their ability to get yards after contact, which is a huge part of it. And really thought we did a really nice job up front of trying to keep the quarterback in the pocket. That's what scares you to death about Southern Miss, is you get out of a rush lane, next thing you know, he's gone. So we tackled really well. I thought we flew around, played really hard. I thought, in crunch time, like you talking about on conversion downs, we were really good in coverage. We matched it. But the big thing is I thought we kept rush lane integrity, which we haven't always done very well. Even going back, last year when we were, winning a bunch of games, there were times where you left a lot to be desired there. So it was really good. And, we're going to need our defense to keep playing well. That's just the reality of it. Right now on offense, we got to find a way to manufacture yards and capitalize on some, field position scoring opportunities. But on defense, they're going to have to continue to help us get some of those opportunities.
Thanks, Coach Des. Appreciate the time today.
Yep. Thanks.
With an opening statement.
Yep. Good to see everybody yet again. As this year continues to go fast. Just would open up quickly and just say, I'm very proud of the effort of our staff, our players, coaching staff, sports staff, and everybody, and what it takes to go on the road in back-to-back weeks, and certainly a long bus trip for us. Pleased with the end result, more pleased about our process of continuing to find ways to win close competitive football games in this league. Tip of the hat to Monroe and all they did in a fight to make it a good football game. And again, proud of our guys and staff and everyone for what it takes to go on the road and travel a long way and get back-to-back road wins. I'll take questions. Thanks.
We'll open up now for questions, and we'll start it off with Craig Stevenson.
Hey, Coach. I know it was competitive well into the second half, or close well into the second half, but to have one that didn't go down to the last play, how did that make you feel? And, just the fact that you guys seem to be really well prepared for this one.
Well, thanks first off, and I would honestly give you that it does not feel any different to me. But yeah, I mean, was it better to send out a victory formation to get out of there before lightning struck and all the weather started to come in? That certainly, I'll take that if we have to. But this team is proving to be pretty comfortable in adverse situations and being able to play through tough things and stay connected, which I'm very proud of. But it did. I would rather end in a victory formation rather than maybe an overtime.
Yeah. You lost 2 starters for targeting on defense, but you still had 4 turnovers in the second half. Talking about the guys that stepped up, and in particular Joe Lott, guy from down here in Mobile. Just what have you seen from him and his development the last year or so?
Yeah, I think it's next man up, right? It's what it has to be. It's what happened with our offensive line, and certainly what had to happen on defense and at the safety position. Joe's a young guy that we got 4 games last year and that we're able to redshirt. He does everything right. He's improving his practice habits, got stronger, and has developed, and is starting to put himself in a position where guys trust him being out on the field. He's got a large amount of playing time throughout the games we've had, and then certainly in special teams. And I think that sooner or later, as you embrace preparation and continue to execute better, plays like that, you find ways to get there, and you certainly hope that they're ready for those moments. And he was. I think it's a testament to him, to our defensive staff, to Coach Wright and those guys that put him in those positions, and then him to be ready for him through his preparation. And he's done that. I think this is maybe a culmination of being prepared through a lot of work from summer on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go over to Adam.
Coach Partner, you guys, this 4-game winning streak you guys are on, you won 3 of those games on the road. Now you get to play 3 of your next 4 at home, including the next 2 being division games. Just what is the focus of your team right now that it's got you guys feeling good, playing good, and overall just being a very successful team this last month?
Yeah, I think sounds different when you say it out loud like that. I'll be honest with you. I don't even barely check the records of our opponents, because all of our opponents are good enough to beat us if we're not prepared and execute well. So the message has been exactly what it's been. That again, I always look at Sam when I say it. He should be able to repeat it. You all know what it is. It's a path to better. January 14th was the date. I'll say that again and again and again. So what is the messaging this week? To make sure this football program, this football team, this staff is held accountable to the standards, which is for us to prepare, be process driven, and make sure we operate with urgency, execution, and discipline. And it'll be over and over and over again till we're done playing this year. And when we come back on January 14th next year, I can promise you the message will be very similar.
Step over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. Looking forward to, this coming week. We just heard from Des, but how do you kind of go at looking at a defensive unit like that that's really kind of only elevated their play the last couple weeks and is really playing at an elite level? How do you attack that?
Yeah, I think one, there'd be no surprise. There's a lot of respect for Dez and that program. They played in the conference championship game last year. They're resilient. They're playing hard. There's no reason to look at that team and believe you're going to get anything other than their best. And they're continuing to play hard in all three phases. It's all over the tape. So for us, I think it's just simply preparing in such a way that gets you ready for that. I don't think our guys look at this any differently of who we play and where they're at in record and all those things, because their defensive effort, their production and all that is all over the tape. Huge effort is going to have to be made by our offense. I certainly think you got to do that in ways that stay and remain us and our personality, but you better also find different ways to attack them, because if you try to stay too conventional, it'll be hard to gain yards against them.
Any final questions for Coach Parker? All right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Yep. Thank you all.
Great weather. Didn't play really well in the first half, but second half offensively, we got it rolling a little bit, and guys stepped up and made plays at the right time. And it was a good win for our football team. So carrying some momentum going into a bye week. And then, obviously, as you all know, we play October 30th against Coastal at Coastal. So, and they're playing better right now. So, we're going to have our hands full. It's going to be a big game.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you to ask your questions. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Yeah, Coach, I wanted to, first and foremost, just ask you about your, the team's resolve in this double overtime game that you guys were able to win over the weekend, but also just your special teams and your kicker, being able to go 4 for 4 on field goals and come through on those kicks when you guys really needed them, and made up for 14 points in the team's victory overall. But just what he contributed and obviously the ability to execute under what might be pressure or dire circumstances for your team.
Yeah. He opened the game up with his kickoff went through the uprights. So, we knew that we had to be really good with our kicking game because they'll take some chances and they have a good return man. And he did a great job. I think he was 6 for 7 touchbacks, was 4 for 4 on field goals, hit a 48-yarder into the wind. It would have probably been good from 58. And, 2 extra points. So he's steady right now. He's doing a great job. Nothing really affects him. And, he's got to keep that up for us. And, but he's just such a weapon to have, especially with our kickoff team. And, comes through clutch on field goals. And, we're not afraid to run him out there really from anywhere. I mean, inside of 60, 65 yards, we're going to try him, unless the wind's crazy. But I have a lot of confidence in him, and at any point in the game, we could run him out. So, but he's been really good for us.
And then, Coach, I wanted to follow up and sort of turn the page to this week. You guys are going to take the show on the road. You're going to play a Coastal team that's really found its groove, and in a lot of ways, you probably can feel like your team's playing at a much better level than maybe when the start of the season began. Just the collision of these two forces and the importance of this game in the East Division moving forward. What's really got to happen for you guys if you want to be successful and slow them down?
Yeah, well, since they made their quarterback change, they're different now offensively than what they were. So these last 2 games, they changed that up. They're running this quarterback a lot. And he can also beat you throwing the ball. He's got a great arm. And, our coaching staff here was familiar with him. Rod Smith was at the offense coordinator at Illinois and signed him coming out of high school. So, he knows him well. And then obviously, our relationship with the coaching staff at Coastal, we were all together at NC State for a few years. So very familiar with Coach Beck and some of his assistants. But, it's obviously a huge game for us because it's our next game.
we don't. What we have to do is keep preparing the right way, doing things the right way, and have confidence in our program and our team and our teammates, our schemes, and just keep playing. And so that's all we'll say about it. I mean, it's not a bigger game than any other. It's a big game because it's our next game.
Let's go over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. Jumping back to this last week, you start off overtime. I mean, you scored in 4 plays. How much momentum does that give you guys? They put together a 7-play scoring drive, but then you flip, you hold them to a field goal. I mean, how have you seen Carlos kind of step up as a leader and kind of lead that offensive unit, regardless of what the score is? He's putting together solid drives.
Yeah, he is. And, Carlos started out the first half and he was trying to force some things in, made a rare mistake. He turned it over in the red zone, took points off the board. And he came out in the second half and we were different offensively. I mean, we put some drives together. I made a poor decision on the first drive of the opening half, or the second half opening drive. We should have kicked the field goal and took the points. Didn't do it, and thank God it didn't come back to get us. But Carlos, he's the same guy, never too high, never too low. And if we're going to overtime, I want him as our quarterback, and our whole football team does. And he just did what he had to do, and when we held him to a field goal, I felt pretty good about our chances of winning the football game and sending the offense back out.
Coach, in a back and forth game, you guys go down and score on the 2-minute drill. They come back, kick the field goal to force overtime. But what does it say about the resolve of your team? You guys had a couple other close games not go your way this year. What does it say about the resolve of your team to be able to come out, score in overtime, score in double overtime to win this one in a close battle?
Yeah, it was great to see. And, I don't know, like I used the timeout late in that, and I beat myself up about it. It was a bad decision on my part to even call a timeout there. And if I was going to do it early before they get a kickoff. But our kids, once it went in and, I was mad at myself and I looked back and the guys were like, we got you, Coach. We're good. Never panicked. They didn't panic when we were down 8 points in the fourth quarter. And they just keep playing. Again, I say it a lot, but these kids love football. They love each other right now. I mean, it's taken us a while to gel and do all the things, but we're 7 games into the season, and this team is gelling, and we're getting it going at the right time. So proud of them. Love to coach them. So we'll give them a couple of days here to recover and get healthy, and then get ready to roll on the Coastal.
Thanks, Coach Gibson. Appreciate the time today.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Butch Jones, Coach, would you kick it off with an opening statement?
Sure. Well, it's great to get back into regular game week. I thought the extra time really, really helped us. Trying to get back, obviously, health-wise into the training room. It was refreshing to really kind of watch college football on Saturday and really watch the in-game management and the philosophies that kind of surround college football regarding the first half. I see Charles is on here. Charles will understand when you work for Nick Saban, everything is about managing the first half and not putting your defense in harm's way. And it's just interesting to watch kind of the dynamics that surround college football right now. So to be able to go look at the situational mastery within the games. But, I think the extra time was needed for our football team. Great challenge. I think one of the best football teams in our conference that we're playing in Georgia Southern. We talk about a mature football team. They're very, very mature. A veteran group. I think it's one of the best O-lines within our conference. The quarterback is elite. Defense runs around, really, really talented up front. So it's going to be a great challenge for us, well coached. And, it's going to take everything that we have to play winning football Saturday night.
We'll open up now for questions, and we'll start off with Charles.
Coach, what's going on, man?
How you doing, man?
Good, man. Hey, just want to say thank you. You know what I'm talking about. Just want to say thank you. Two questions for you. First one is you just mentioned injuries. Just talk about the injuries with the team. How's everybody recovering? And then the second part is a couple weeks ago I asked you about the identity of the squad. We're almost through the season. We're halfway through more than halfway through the season. Are you starting to figure out what the identity of this team is?
Yeah, that's a great question with our identity. And when you have 70 newcomers, that's a challenge in and of itself. And I think we're starting to, have an identity of a team that has resiliency, that has resolve. We're finding ways to win. It's not pretty at any, stretch of the imagination, but we're finding ways. And I think we become a really connected football team, and that doesn't happen by chance. But we have to earn everything that we get. So I think we're still work in progress in a lot of areas. But I do see progress in terms of a team coming together. I think anytime you win close games, it's amazing. Our sports information department said since 1900, there's only been 36 teams that have won two back-to-back 1-point victories. Since 1900, only 36 times it's been done. It's the first time it's been done in our school history. So I think that does show you a little bit of resolve and resiliency that our team has. In terms of injuries, we'll know a little bit more. It's amazing how it affects different positions and it kind of runs in cycles. So again, a lot of times your current situation affects your current identity. And that's kind of what we're going through right now.
Let's go over to Cade.
You mentioned back-to-back weeks where you've led these game-winning drives in the 2-minute drill. What's allowed you to be so successful in those situations?
Well, I think we've played complementary football when we've needed to. We've been able to make a stop somehow, way or another defensively. And then, Jalen's done a really good job of managing the 1-minute offense. Just like everyone, we practice it all the time. Our players have a lot of confidence in it. And I think we've seen different things schematically. But I think it's a belief. We have a lot of confidence, obviously, including Van Andel as well. So I think a lot of those go hand in hand. But I think the biggest thing is we've been able to execute and be 11 for 11 and then playing complementary football towards the end of the games.
Let's go over to Billy.
Yeah, coach. I was just going to ask you specifically about that. You guys get the ball back with just under 2 minutes left. Um, it kind of seemed, from a viewer's perspective, it looked like the plan was always to get, close enough, give Clune a chance. Was there ever any intention on, maybe taking a shot at the end zone, or was that kind of the chip away mentality, trust your kicker and
That's a great question. And you look at all the games that really came down in college football. We've had 9 one-score wins since the 2024 season. That's tied with Arizona State for most in the FBS. So when you say, how are you doing it? We've proven it over time. Now we have 70 newcomers. So, a lot of these individuals haven't been here. But that's always the question. How much do you trust your field goal kicker? In our game, that circumstance was a little bit different. We didn't play very well. There was a number of things that go through. Do we take another shot at the end zone? Do we try to get closer? A sack, puts you out of field goal range. Then do you center the ball? We thought about that. And then at the end of the day, it's like, you know what? We have confidence in our field goal kicker. He likes that hash. Let's just go ahead and end the game and not put the game in harm's way and give our players an opportunity to win the game. And so that always goes into it. It's always easy to second guess when things don't go appropriately. But again, we're in field goal range, would have liked to have gotten closer, but all those things go through. And I think it's really based on the current circumstances, not only of your team, but the current circumstances of the game and how the game has been dictated, for that particular game.
Thanks, Coach Jones. Appreciate your time today.
Okay, have a great week.
Thanks, Coach Jones. Appreciate your time today.
Okay, have a great week.
Yeah, credit goes to JMU. They played exceptionally well in the second half, and we didn't play up to our potential. And so, we didn't play or coach up to our potential. We got to do a better job there. And I'm looking forward to a homecoming game against App State. It's going to be a great game. I know that they're going to be a well-coached team, and I know our guys are looking forward to getting back out there and playing with much more conviction here in this game coming up.
We'll open up now for questions. For our media, please use the raise hand function, and we'll call on you to ask those questions. We'll start it off with Adam.
Coach Rahne, defensively, obviously not the effort performance you were looking for. What were some of the things you felt like, especially in the second half, but even in the first half when it felt like such a seesaw game, that was tough for your defense to find ways to get stops? What were some of the things you thought JMU made difficult on you guys?
I thought they played really, really physical. JMU did, and we didn't get off enough blocks. We didn't win our one-on-one matchups there, and then I didn't think we tackled well enough. Obviously, their quarterback did an excellent job and then played a tremendous game. But I just didn't think that we won enough one-on-one matchups, and then we just didn't tackle the way that we need to.
Let's go over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. You come out to that hot start in the first quarter. What did you kind of see defensively that they might have shifted that might have made you guys a little bit uncomfortable?
I just didn't think we took advantage of our opportunities, and I think that when we turned the ball over on the first play of the second half, that just obviously that's not going to be a great way to go, especially the way they were playing on offense. And so, we had some miscommunications there in protection, and then obviously we can't turn the ball over there. So that was a major factor. But I think we had some guys open that we didn't hit. Some due to protection issues, maybe some due to some route depth, some due to throws, and that's why the passing game is a high risk, high reward, because there's a lot of things that go into it. But then we also missed a lot of runs. We left a lot of yards out on the field in terms of some run reads there, and so we've got to get there, and then we've got to continue to move more people on the offensive line. Our offensive line has played well all year, but I thought that maybe we just we weren't getting beat, but we weren't playing as aggressive as we normally do.
Let's go back to Adam.
Yeah, Coach, just turning the page now. You guys are going to come back home for another East Division game. App State's, they've been able to put up a lot of points themselves offensively. What are some things on their offense specifically that your defense is going to have to be ready for in this game?
Well, obviously, Coach Dell does a great job. He's a tremendous football coach. Known him a long time. Have a lot of respect for him. And he's got some weapons. I mean, they've got a good running back who runs hard and breaks tackles. They've got a tight end who can get open versus anybody. They've got a slot receiver who's fast, but can also make things happen with the ball in his hand. So he can go deep or catch the screen game and things like that, and the option game. And then they've got two outside guys who are really big and physical and can track the football well. So he's got a lot of weapons at his disposal. And he's obviously a guy who knows how to game plan and knows how to create conflict for the defense.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, really proud of our players for battling a 2-game road stretch, ending down in Louisiana against a very good team, tough physical team. Battled. You got to win tough games on the road. Hats off to Coach Dez. I thought they had a really good game plan, really stressed us in some areas, really put us in some uncomfortable situations, areas we haven't been in, maximizing their drives, not giving us many drives offensively. But really proud of the players finding a way to make the plays when needed. Now we got to come home and get ready to play another tough, physical, probably the most physical team we've played in ULM. Coach does a really good job of putting his players in really good position. A lot of different creative formation plays, looks, motions, all of the above. It's going to be a really tough challenge for us defensively, and defensively for them. They do a really good job, probably one of the better D lines in the conference as far as physicality, and they play hard, and they're physical. So we got a tough challenge coming up this week. We got a lot of work to do. We haven't played to the level that I think we're capable of playing yet. We've done it in spurts. The players agree with it. The coaches agree with it. We got to figure out how, as this season starts to really get into true conference play, we got to figure out how to put together a complete game in all three phases.
We'll open up now for questions, and we'll start off with Justin.
Hey, Coach. Throughout the season, you've talked about wanting to see this team grow and improve. I'm just curious, from week 1 to now, how has this team grown in your eyes?
Yeah, I think we're learning how to play winning football. That doesn't mean you win every week, but we're learning how to play winning football. We're learning the value of taking care of the ball on offense. That doesn't mean you don't ever turn it over. We're learning the value of taking the ball away on defense. We're learning as a team how to suffer well, which means everything is not going to go perfect, but that can affect your mental disposition as the game goes on. You got to play the next play. One play doesn't win the game, but one play can change the game. And I think our guys are learning that. A deeper dive, we've probably done a better job from a coaching perspective of understanding, thinking players, not plays. What can our players do versus what play may be the best against this schematic look? Giving our players an opportunity to be successful, putting them in advantageous situations, trying to hide or mask our deficiencies. And then we've done a decent job, in my opinion, of developing some guys. And that word typically goes, with length and years. And, you want to develop, he's got to be there 3 or 4 years. But I think you can develop week to week. And that doesn't mean you play perfect, but I think you can start to develop some consistency in your performance that I think will help you be successful.
Let's go to Hunter. You there, Hunter?
Sorry about that. Coach, you told me on Saturday after, the 2 road games in a row that, and of course, congratulations for both those victories, but that you were excited to get back to Hattiesburg and stuff. But we also talked about the need for kind of the foundation of building, bringing the fans back. And I want to ask you is if, you want to make that encouragement to the Hattiesburg community to come out and support, just like we spoke about the different programs in Hattiesburg.
Yeah, I feel they'll come and support. Obviously it's homecoming for us. I think we've started to show that this thing is real. It's not a flash in the pan. Doesn't mean we win every game by 100. That's not what I'm saying. This community has been starving for a winner or a successful program. I think they see that in these guys. I do think sometimes when you start getting back-to-back home games early in the season, you can be a little bit misled because it's like, well, it was a great crowd last week. This crowd was just okay. But when you get away from home for a while, I think when you come back, you truly feel the appreciation. And it's not a number. Just because your stadium is sold out doesn't mean that you have true appreciation. Just because you only have a few fans in the stadium doesn't mean true appreciation. It's about that feel that those fans that do show up, show and give to everyone. It's not just us. It's the cheerleaders, it's the band, it's the dance team, it's the student body. We got an opportunity this weekend to show what coming home is really about. Coming home is not necessarily a place, it's a feel. It's coming back to a place where you've had great memories. It's coming back to a place where you've had great connections and relationships. And we get an opportunity to show that this weekend. I told the team, in the meeting that this will be the first time that some of our fans get to see us play live. You know, they don't have the ability to get here every week, but they plan to be here for homecoming. So this is an opportunity for some of the fans that have supported us from afar for a very long time to really see us live. So we should be very grateful for them. We should be very humble for the fact that they do want to come support their program. And we should go out and try to make sure that our performance shows our gratitude.
Let's go to Heath.
Hey, Coach, you talked about every aspect of the game getting better, but I thought special teams probably had their best game: punting, kickoff coverage, even field goal, except for the missed field goal kicking. But you talk about your special teams and the growth so far.
Yeah, you know, obviously there's you're going to have limited opportunities in the kick return game now, and I think kickers in college are really good. And you're talking about making a decision, or you're trying to bring it out from 3 or 4 yards deep, and you know, risk getting hit to the 20 versus when you're getting on the 25. So that's going to be limited. But our specialists, our kickers, obviously we had a little bit of a hiccup with Jack going out, which put a little bit of strain on those other two guys. I think him getting back now is good. The other part of that is one thing to be back, but it's another thing to kind of be in flow. And I think he's getting in the flow now, which is taking some pressure off of those other guys that are kicking, even in practice every day. I mean, if he's not here, that's one more ball that, you know, Reed has to punt. There's one more ball that Reed has to kick. So being able to have those three back and in flow takes some of the pressure and strain off throughout the week, which gives them a better chance to perform on game days.
Heath, go ahead if you have a follow-up there.
Yeah, thank you. Coach, you talked after the game about you know, being a little more disciplined. How do you coach physicality and aggressiveness on defense and push that to the edge without getting that penalty? How hard is that, and how difficult of a line is that not to cross, especially for the players?
Yeah, I don't think it's a very difficult line, because there's physicality, there's violence, and there's also fundamentals and technique. You know, typically we haven't had a ton of during the play penalties. Right now, we're getting hit with the stupid penalties. You know, I mean, pre-snap penalties, jumping off sides, pre-snap penalties not being set. You know, post-snap penalties, the whistle's blown and we're still, you know, trying to play. Like, those are the things that to me you should be able to play without. I mean, everyone knows if the snap count is on 2, it's on 2. Some of the plays we call, we're not even running a play and we're jumping off sides. And I asked, what play are you running? So that's a lack of focus. The things that we got to clean up is the focus penalties, the holdings, the in-play type penalties all come down to fundamentals. And if you are truly in flow and you're playing the game with unbelievable mental disposition, unbelievable composure, unbelievable physicality, you realize that my fundamentals and technique cap all that off. And you run your feet. You don't get the ball. You don't get your hands outside your framework. You don't feel the need to grab a receiver as he runs by you. You don't feel the need the ball goes in the air to panic and play into the receiver instead of playing the ball. All of those things go into playing with the right mental disposition. I think we've done a good job of managing the in-play penalties. We have not done a good job of the pre-snap self-control penalties. The other part of discipline for me is not just the penalties. It's, okay, where are my eyes supposed to be? What is my route depth supposed to be? If I'm supposed to be at 8, I got to be at 8, not 9, not 7. So discipline to me is a lifestyle. It's not a per play decision. And I talked to the guys about that. You got to wake up every day and think disciplined thoughts. You can't wait till you show up at the building and say, okay, I'm going to be disciplined, but I was late to class today. It's not how it works. And the more consistency we can have in our disciplined thoughts throughout the day, then practice and the games become easy. So we've got to make sure that our discipline throughout the day, every day, matters. Then that way on game day, it's another day.
Thanks, Coach Huff. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Yeah, just excited. A couple days away from going down to Atlanta, Georgia State. Obviously, they just got off of a disappointing loss against their big rival, but really quality football team. A lot of good players, offense, defense. We got to get prepared for Thursday night.
We'll open up now for questions. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you to ask those questions. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Coach Applewhite, obviously you guys have had this time to get a little extra rest, but the last two outings you guys have had an overtime game and then a 1 point game, two really close results. But was there a message to the team during this time that rest of the season moving forward, everything that the little things are going to matter even more? Have you put a microscope on certain things to when those crucial points come and these close moments come in games where you guys are going to have to really buckle down and execute? Was there a message to the team at all about those situations as they come up the rest of the year?
Yeah, I mean, the message is that's the league play. There's a lot of different messages, but that's league play. You look around our league and you see the first half scores and you're like, wow, and then you turn back and you watch the second half scores and you're like, wow, that game turned. And that's what's in our league. Very seldom do you have a team that's going to roll through the Sun Belt and dominate and win, 9, 10, 11 games and win them all by 2 and 3 touchdowns. These are touchdown ball games. There's critical penalties. There's critical situations, ending the half, coming out of the half. There's a lot of different things that go into that. And we talk to our team about things that we can do as coaches to put you in better positions. And then, we talk about most coaches or former players at some point, you're put in a situation, you need to understand the situation, you need to go execute the situation and take ownership from that standpoint, from a player standpoint. But I am proud of the effort that our team has played with, the physicality that our team has played with. We're all disappointed in the outcomes of football games. They're practicing the right way, they're playing the game the right way. But we're always looking inward first as coaches as to, is that the best opportunity there for our player? Is this the best call for this player? Is this do we put him in the best situation? And those are things that we're trying to find to help our ball club win a ball game.
And then my follow-up kind of, leads into this week. Obviously, Thursday night, national TV spotlight with Georgia State. The threat that their receiving core is going to bring you to Ted Hurst and a couple of the other guys, just what kind of challenge is that going to be for your defense this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's the Sun Belt. I remember 3 years ago, we played Louisiana Monroe. They weren't having a great season, but they had probably the best wide receiver in the league. It doesn't matter who you're playing. They are always going to have good players. Their quarterback is dynamic. I mean, anybody can go out there and roll out 400 yards of all-purpose offense is pretty special. If you got 120 on the ground and 280 in the air, you're pretty special. And so there's good players everywhere. And that's what you see. You see 1 week a team, I didn't know they would lose to them. And then you watch them the next week and wow, they beat them by 14 points. That's what you see in this league. And 8 can play, 1 can play, 5 can play. All 3 of their backs, 30s are great back. They got a host of defensive linemen up front. They got length and speed in the secondary. Their backers experienced and played a lot of ball. Their edge pieces are good. They can rush the passer, set edges. They've got a quality football team. There's a lot of good teams in this league. Records don't always show it because we play 4 money games. But that's the reality of what you got in this league. You got a lot of really good players. That's why a lot of people think this is a farm league for the SEC. You got a lot of good players in this league, and you got to show up and play on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Tuesday, whenever they've got us playing.
Let's go over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. Similar question to Adam's. Just wanted to see, if any, what similarities you saw from, this past week with Jalen and then, Cameron kind of stepping up at Georgia State. Just kind of the similarities and how you can kind of, fine tune the defensive efforts because, you just faced a guy very similar in a dual threat quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, you would exactly. Their schemes are different. They do some things with their tight ends in terms of trying to get the ball to their tight ends, but it's very similar, to Rucker and Jalen in terms of this quarterback and the connection with Hurst. You see him down there when the money's on the line and the game's on the line and it's right there for half. There's no question who that ball is going to in the corner of that end zone there at Georgia Southern. So there's obviously a relationship, a familiarity with the quarterback and his wideout, and they do a great job of connecting. But he's got other players too now. I mean, I love Hurst. I love great players. I love Hurst. He's a great player, but there's other good ones too that can do things with the ball, and they'll find different players on third downs and situations.
Coach, one on your defense, Blaine Myrick was the preseason Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year. He really came into his own. It seemed like this week had 3 tackles for loss. I think maybe his season high 13 tackles. What was different this week and that really enabled him to really fill up the stat sheet for you guys?
Nothing in terms of his preparation. Blaine's the leader of our defense and is a strong team leader. He's from right here in town. Everything off the field, in the classroom, in the weight room, in the training room, everything's on point. Everything is on point. There's never a T not crossed and I not dotted. Everything's on point, and it's a pleasure to be able to coach a player like that. Whether I work with him on punt team or some special teams or him being the leader on the defensive side of the football, his preparation is always the same. His mental and physical toughness is always the same. I think last week it all aligned for him in terms of, where the plays were and they were in his vicinity and he was able to go make those plays. But he is by and large the most consistent player that we have and has been the most consistent player the last couple of years on defense, and his leadership qualities are shining through now.
Thanks, Coach Applewhite. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.